So thanks for joining, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I am one of the co-founders at Compose, which is an A/B testing and conversion rate application that is available on Shopify. And with me, I have Diego Hernandez, who's a QA engineer and developer at Udundy, one of our partner agencies that specializes in Shopify ecom and CRO. So,
Hey,
awesome.
good to see everybody.
Awesome. All right, so starting out, we'll just go over what we're going to cover today. So we'll start out by talking about how you can build a strong foundation for your website. So this is before you get to small tweaks and optimizations, how you can have a core website that's really strong to build from. Then we'll talk about how to have an experimentation mindset and create a culture that really leverages data and A/B testing for growth. And then we'll dive into proven CRO tactics, keeping in mind that there isn't really a one-size-fits-all playbook. So these are just some tactical approaches that you can take for A/B testing based on your data. And throughout, feel free to drop questions in the chat if you have any, and we'll try and answer them at the end. Or we can also email any question responses afterwards. And we also have some links pinned in the chat for where to download Compose on the Shopify App Store. And we also have some links for like scheduling a demo if you're interested and things like that. So check those out if you would like. All right, so I'll hand it over to Diego, who's going to take over this first part.
Yeah, so building a foundation, making sure that your website is optimized and responsive, it's going to load fast. I think most people, if you're here, you understand that your page load speed is going to have a significant effect on your customer retention, and we generally measure that in the millisecond range. And so here, kind of just some statistics of what the cost of the slow site speeds are. You get drop off on users. 53% of mobile users abandon sites that take 3+ seconds to load. And one thing that we kind of see pop up a lot in our agency is just the overuse of Shopify apps in the multiple dozens sometimes that you see those. So it's important to just continue to review what apps are currently installed and why they're important to you and which ones you can cut off. Even just yesterday, we did a test of with one of our clients' site to remove all of the apps to see the sort of performance gains they would get. And we did see I think it was 1.67 second increase in speed once we removed all those apps, which is significant. That's a huge boost. And again, you're generally looking at your site speed in the 100 millisecond sort of time frame. So that was an immense sort of kind of wake up call to see which ones can be moved there. But obviously, there's a lot of strategies that can go into this on the development side. And something that I like to contextualize the development side through is the user journey. Because it's easy enough to just, as a developer, get the code, ship it, give it to the client. That's fine enough. But I like to make sure that everyone is understanding what the purpose is. So a popular customer journey flow might be your attention, interest, desire, and action. As developers, we're typically looking at the desire and action side of how, whatever the design is, how we're creating that desire, how we getting users to then use that action. And so as a development team, if we understand what the purpose of what we're doing is, we can be more geared towards actually delivering that and getting better customer journeys for our clients. And obviously a lot of great ways to improve your site speed beyond just the high level stuff, which is like your apps, getting down to the granular things. So image compression is a big thing. Tiny PNG and other tools that can shrink the size of that without sacrificing quality. And surprisingly enough, especially when we inherit some projects, we see a lot of code bases don't use Shopify's auto optimization tools, which is just, it's like a free win. It is such a great thing to just dramatically increase or decrease the amount of network that has to be downloaded to your site, just to help that snappiness. Again, you want it to load fast and you want to avoid layout shift that can detract users as well. If it feels slow, people aren't going to like it. Lazy loading is a good thing, and then making sure that your scripts are placed in somewhere logical and there's nothing blocking it. Again, going back to the app thing, like it wasn't just that it slows down your sites, it can also make the site feel sluggish. So making sure you're auditing kind of like which ones are going to be causing the most trouble there has caused a lot of great wins for our clients in the past to really optimize on that front, get the images right. And one that gets overlooked as well is preloading images, particularly if you have like a large video on your homepage. That can be a huge decrease to your initial speed. Preloading can be a foot gun. You want to be careful and consult a development team or whoever you may be working with and what an appropriate use of that is. But that can also be a big win for your initial load speed to preload very important assets that need to be shown first and aren't going to cause that layout shift that can detract users. And yeah, I think it's easy for people to forget about mobile first experiences. I think generally people understand that if most of your users are going to be mobile, Shopify has great analytic tools built in that will show you the specifics of what those are. So if you aren't reviewing those frequently, make sure you are doing that because it gives you a lot of context of where you should be putting in your effort. I think when you are a project manager, a developer, whatever you are in the product flow, you interact with your desktop most of the day. So it's easy to start disconnecting from that mobile user flow. But it's highly important. And it happens a lot of time with our clients where they'll submit a design or they talk about a feature, but they've only thought about it in the context of how they're using their site, which is on the desktop. And so we kind of try to focus in on reeling them in on like, all right, what's the mobile look like though? What is the mobile feature set? And even as developers, one thing as I do as a QA engineer is there's still that intermediary step, which is your tablet design. If you are developing wisely, it can mostly take care of itself. But there are instances where when I test on an iPad, we didn't really think about that before, how that layout happens. And so it might look poor on a tablet. And again, you have analytics of what your tablet users are, but part of the QA process I check for is making sure that it goes through the full flow, that mobile, that tablet, that desktop look. You don't want to forget the tablet look, but yeah, your mobile users are going to be the most important ones for you, and you don't want to have your flow detract from what your user's flow is going to be.
Totally. Thanks, Diego, on going over that. So next we're going to talk about just the experimentation mindset, because ultimately it's an iterative over time process. So you're not just going to run like a couple A/B tests and then your site's optimized. So it's more of a cyclical process. So it starts out by just making sure that you're tracking and reviewing important data. So if you're on Shopify, you already have Shopify Analytics, which is a really powerful tool. And you can also implement additional softwares like Microsoft Clarity. You can use GA4. And there's tons of other ones as well. Those are just some free, really popular options. But just in Shopify alone, you can look at your device breakdowns of how many people are mobile. You can see a conversion rate breakdown of where people are dropping off in the funnel. You can look at returning versus new customers. You can even see items frequently purchased together, which is great for testing upsells and ideating around what might go well together. Popular search terms, popular drop-off pages. So there's tons that you can do just within Shopify. And then if you also incorporate an additional tool like Clarity, you can see things like scroll depth percentages, heat maps, session recordings. So all of those things are things that you can use to then develop hypotheses. So that's sort of the next step, is coming up with hypotheses that are actually backed by data. So we usually recommend using an if, then, because approach. So basically an example of this would be if you're a snack brand and you have like drop downs for flavor selectors, you could come up and you see in Clarity that they're not getting clicked. So people aren't engaging with your drop down. A good hypothesis would be if we switch the drop down. So if we switch the drop down to flavor selectors, then people will engage with and add to cart more because our wide flavor selection will be immediately visible and obvious. So that's just an example, but obviously that can be applied to any insight that you get from your data. And then you need to A/B test those because not everything is going to work, even if it's a great idea on paper. So just because your competitors are doing it or your data, you think it's a great idea, A/B testing is really going to be how you can prove that it does move the needle. All right, so Compose, this is where we introduce Compose, and it's not a sales pitch, so I won't go spend too much time here, but we do have in our chat, we have a few links for downloading Compose in the Shopify App Store, and we also have links to some demos, or you can schedule a one-on-one demo if you're interested. But essentially, Compose is an A/B testing software that is super easy to implement, and we're the only pay-as-you-go solution, so it is the most affordable option on the market, and it's super flexible. So downloading it on Shopify is totally free to do, and then from there, you're only charged for tested users that you accumulate while you're running tests. So it's a really great way to sort of get into experimentation or cut back costs on your CRO department. So if your software has a big overhead, it's a really great solution for toning that back. And then and it does have, with our Shopify integration, you can create no code Shopify split theme and template tests. So that's a really great solution for teams that don't have a lot of developer resources or want to ship experiments quickly. So that is an option as well. Awesome. So now we're going to dive into some proven CRO tactics. But like I mentioned before, keep in mind that these strategies are just and best practices. They're not like a one-size-fits-all solution. So there's lots of different ways that you can use these approaches and implement them in different ways. So definitely you still need to A/B test, but this is a good playbook to look at least for ideas. And Diego and I are going to go back and forth on this, but I'll start out by talking about trust and credibility. So basically, this is providing any sort of social proof or trust information that will help convert customers because they feel better about the purchase. So we have some examples here. Lawless Beauty does a really great job of incorporating user-generated content. So things like video and images that purchasers have shown the product and how much they love it. So that's really great for helping convince people who may be on the fence. You can also definitely, we recommend including reviews on your website if you aren't already. So any sort of reviews or testimonials, and usually that does require a third-party application on Shopify, but that's definitely one that's worth it. And then trust badges as well. So you can see Il Maquillage has these trust badges below their add to cart. So incorporating things like money back guarantees, warranties, free returns, things that will make people less stressed to purchase are really great to incorporate, especially at like crucial moments in the flow, like right near the add to cart or the checkout. But as you can see, the idea of trust and credibility can be implemented in a lot of different ways. So that's where you can come up with different ideas to A/B test and make sure that what you're doing is working best for you.
Yeah, exactly like Sarah said. As an agency, we've applied several of these approaches to even within the same client, they might try different things, and across different clients. Obviously, they all do different solutions because it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's what works right for them, and then the ones that are the most successful are the ones that are able to test and actually get that concrete data that their users are actually interacting and connecting with that sort of credibility that they're offering.
Awesome. Diego, I think you're going to go over this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then increasing desire and urgency. Again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, in that customer journey flow, just understanding that this part is going to lean heavily on the design and how the developers apply this to make sure it's consistent, it looks good, it behaves well. And then just, again, a bunch of different strategies to do this. Pop-ups that kind of offer limited time sales or make people aware that there's a big event coming up that they can be aware of. We've A/B tested a lot of these sort of call to actions like selling fast, building that urgency, testing different things that create better messaging that create that urgency for users, and where it is can also have a different effect as well. So sale messaging, shipping delivery time windows are also a big one that we found, because it gives people comfortable. It gives them comfort in knowing when they're going to get the product instead of having to add it to cart, set up the shipping information, and then find out. It builds that urgency again. In their head, they're like, "Oh, I can get this tomorrow. I can get this in 2 days." So there's a bunch of different strategies to be able to do that. That we've put a bunch of different ones together for several clients. And again, those that we've been able to test have been, again, it's always very interesting and more engaging when you actually get the data to back up that it's working well. On the product side, I always kind of call it like hope and a prayer sort of design. When you add stuff like this, but you didn't really test it, you didn't think about it, you didn't get other data on it. It looks nice, it might be doing nice, but you don't know until that's been tested. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we also got one comment about the pop-ups being annoying, and I definitely agree. That's absolutely a concern, and that's why the testing also comes into play. Honestly, urgency messaging is one of those that you really need to be careful with because it
mhm.
can negatively impact your brand image if you come across as gimmicky or over the top, or if you're not being honest about your urgency messaging and what is actually low stock. Because if you're using it everywhere, then it definitely loses its impact. So this is one that we highly, highly recommend testing because it definitely can come across as annoying or over the top. So you have to use it tastefully for sure. Awesome. So the next strategy is to boost average order value with upsells and cross sells. So again, I think a lot of times this is simplified, like in oversimplified in the way that people are like, oh, you should add an upsell. That's a test idea. But really, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. So there's different locations that you can place the upsell. There's different items that you can promote within it. So there's tons of different ways that you can iterate on an upsell or a cross sell. So a few different locations that you can try this. Pre-purchase is really popular. So this can be as simple as a you may also like carousel on a product page, or you can do something more complicated like a complete the look or shop this outfit. Those types of upsells on product pages are really great. You can also do upsells within your cart. So this example here is from oh gosh. I apologize. I'll put it in the chat afterwards. I'm blank. Quince. And they do a really great job in their cart of having recommended and then under $30 picks. So you can see multiple different product upsells and it's a one-click add to cart. So that works well for them. And then you can also do post-purchase upsells. So this does require a third-party app integration with Shopify. So something like after-sell, but you can do this and it also gives you the opportunity to incorporate offers for upsells. So that's another thing that you could test if you're interested.
And yeah, we can really just extend that to the actual checkout page itself. And with Shopify, they do severely limit what options you have on there. If you are on Shopify Plus, I believe they offer checkout blocks that can extend that much more than you normally would. But really, it's making sure the branding is working on here. Since you can't really change too much on it, you want to make sure that it at least still speaks to your brand and your products. Especially for me as a customer and a consumer, I go through websites. I go to the checkout page, and then it immediately looks like a Shopify site to me. And then I stop associating my purchase with the brand and just with Shopify. And so that kind of hurts that connection you're trying to build with your customers. Again, that customer journey of making sure that they got through the whole flow and they like the product and they remember you and your brand. And so for the most part, that's what you can really focus on with the limitations that Shopify has in customizing this. You can also use Shopify apps to add more things to this checkup process. Like Sarah mentioned before, cross-selling, you can add more opportunities at the final checkout stage to add more products to their cart. And in particular, more payment options. So on this screenshot, we have the option to use Shopify Pay, Google Pay, and PayPal. The concept of just borrowing credibility is really important, especially if people aren't familiar with your brand. They'll get to this point and say, oh, I know PayPal. I use PayPal all the time. I trust that part of it, so it's going to be easier for me to go through and actually purchase the product. But yeah, it's a roadblock we hit all the time where people want a specific look in their checkout, and unfortunately, there's some things we just have to say no to because Shopify doesn't allow it. And then some great tools that have come out as well that used to just rely on third-party apps are now built into Shopify, which are just recapturing lost revenue. So now built into Shopify, you can set up campaigns to send emails to users who abandon their cart or abandon at checkout. And all of these are automated things that you can do in Shopify right now that don't necessarily depend on third-party applications. But you can obviously extend it with platforms like Klaviyo to add more customization to that. And that helps a lot with getting that revenue back, getting some of that retention so that people remember that they're at the checkout phase. Let's just finish this up real quick. And we've seen a lot of great success with people just turning on some simple options that they already have in their admin dashboard.
Awesome. So that's sort of what we've got for today. So just reiterating some of the key points here. The most important takeaway is really that CRO is an iterative and unique process to your brand. So these tactics, hopefully they'll help you come up with some hypotheses, but they're definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach. But I don't think we have, looking through, I don't think we have any questions in there yet. If anyone has any, feel free to drop them now. Otherwise, we'll probably end the webinar and we'll send everyone a recorded version. So also anyone who missed it will have the recorded version. And before you hop off, remember that there are these links here in the chat that are pinned. So feel free to check out our Compose demo, the Compose app listing in Shopify, or you can schedule a one-on-one demo there as well. Awesome. Did you have anything else, Diego, before we hop off?
No, thank you for everyone for joining. I have a lot of fun as a developer helping with these conversion rate optimizations and just refining the product. It's something I've been passionate about, and it's a cool place for me to contribute to it. And I've also loved using Compose as a tool to contribute to that as well. So thank you so much for letting me join you here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, Diego, and thanks everyone for attending. And yeah, follow Compose on LinkedIn if you want to join more webinars like this, because we'll be trying to do one each month. So awesome. Thanks, everyone.